Hello everyone, back again with LemonCode21. On this occasion, we will create a small medium blog clone project using FastAPI, Python, ReactJS, and MongoDB technology. Let's start. This is the agenda that we will discuss. If we look at the picture, we will use the frontend with ReactJS, which will then communicate with the backend using FastAPI. On the backend side, we use FastAPI technology, while to save images we use Firebase Store to store them. Our database uses MongoDB to store data. User requirement. Number 1. Create blog or write a blog. Description: users can create and save new blogs. Core functions: this project. Input form for writing the title, blog content. Option to upload images or other media, optional. Output: project. The blog is saved in the database and accessible to other users. Number 2. Read all blogs or view all blogs. Description: this project users can view a list of all available blogs. Core functions: this project. Display a list of blogs with basic information such as title, description, image. Number 3. Read blog details or view blog details. Description: this project users can view full details of a specific blog. Core functions: this project. Display the full content of the blog. Show metadata such as creation date, author, number of comments, and category. Display comments or reviews, if available. Number 4. Update blog. Description: this project blog authors can update the content of an existing blog. Core functions: this project. Edit form to modify the title, description, content. Number 5. Delete blog. Description: this project blog authors can delete an existing blog. Core functions: this project. Confirmation option before deletion. Deleted blogs are no longer accessible. Preparation. Backend preparation. First, we will create a backend folder, then add the required libraries such as FastAPI, Unicorn, PyMongo, and Motor. Preparation on the front end. We will add Tailwinds libraries, React Router DOM, React Icons, and for editor we use TyTap library. The folder structure is divided into two, namely models as table file storage and routes as future router backend storage. The config file is used for the connection process to the MongoDB database. Main file is where we call the function from FastAPI. This is the API design when creating a blog. There is an API URL with a post method and a JSON body. The JSON response can be seen in the picture. The design API for reading all data has a GET method without a JSON body and has almost the same response. To update the design API, we use the input method with ID and JSON body parameters. To delete a blog, we use the delete method and ID parameter without a body and response message. On the front end, the structure folder is divided into components to store components, then the page folder where the page design is stored here, while the utils folder is used to connect files to Firebase. Design page: create blog as in the picture, input title, description, and content. The read all page design is shown in the image with a list of cards from each blog. If we click on the card, a page will open according to the blog card. Design read blog details can be seen. There is a title, description, and two buttons on the right for editing and deleting data. If we update, we click the pencil button and the page can update the data. Meanwhile, if you want to delete the blog, if you click on the trash icon, a pop-up will appear to confirm whether you want to delete the data. We start from the back end. First, create a backend folder, then create a virtual environment for Python. After that, add the required libraries. We create an app folder where all the backend files will run. We create a main file here. We create a simple FastAPI return first. Import FastAPI, then create a /router. Now we open it in the browser. The results are there. The next step is to create a connection to the MongoDB. Import Essential MongoClient database, then create a Mongo URL variable. Enter your Mongo connection URL. Next, we create a model folder where here we create a post table file. Create a post class with base model. Add an ID attribute that is mapped as ID on MongoDB. The created attribute is added when creating a posts table. Slug, title, desk, image, and content are added with a string data type. Create a config class as an example JSON body later in FastAPI docs or Swagger. Create a post-update class as an object request on the future API with attributes almost the same as the post class. Now we create a router folder. Add the post router file. Then import API router and declare the router. Before we create a router, we create a post helper for the response on the API. Post helper function with a return data type dictionary. We start by defining the create post function that will receive data from the user. Convert it to a dictionary using post. Dict by alias equals true, then add a unique ID automatically with UID4. After that, the data is saved to the posts collection in MongoDB using the insert1 method, and we retrieve the newly saved data to be returned to the user. We will discuss the API endpoint to read all data. The list_posts function uses the find method from MongoDB to retrieve all documents in the posts collection, then converts them to a list with toList 100. The retrieved data is reformatted with the post helper function helper so that the results are neat before being returned as JSON. This time we will discuss creating an API endpoint to read one specific data based on ID using FastAPI. The readPost function accepts an ID parameter as input, then searches for a document in MongoDB with find_one ID. If the data is found, the result is reformatted using post helper and returned with a status of 200. However, if the data is not found, we will return an error with HTTP exception status 404. This time we will discuss how to create an API endpoint to update data in the database. The updatePost function accepts an ID and new data as input, then filters only non-empty fields from the submitted data. If the data is valid, we use the MongoDB update_one method to update the document with a specific ID. After the update, we check if the data was successfully changed, and if so, the updated data is returned in JSON format. If the ID is not found, we respond with a 404 error. We will create an API endpoint to delete data from the database using FastAPI. The deletePost function accepts an ID parameter from the URL and tries to delete the document that matches delete_one. If the deletion is successful, the API returns a success response with a status of 200 and the message post deleted successfully. However, if the ID is not found, the endpoint will return a 404 error with the message post not found. Now we add the posts router and also add cores. We will also set up CORS in FastAPI. With the CORS middleware, we allow the frontend at localhost 3000 to access this API, supporting all methods, headers, and credentials. Now we try all the APIs in the web browser. Before that, we first check the MongoDB database. Here I have data in the database. We try it in the browser. First, we try to get API. Okay, the data is already there. We try to create a blog with a post. The data is already there. We take data with an ID. The data is already there. We update the data, we try it. Okay, it's already entered. Now we create a frontend folder and add the required libraries. Well, the frontend can be run first. We create a utils, pages, and components folder. First, we create a router in the frontend. We have created a router for the pages that will be needed. There are three main pages, namely Riot blog, blog details, and blog list. Well, now we add the pages we have created to the router. Now it's time for us to design the blog at the blog list stage. We want to create a blog list located in the middle of the screen we created first. We create a header or page title where there is a button next to it. Now we can add an icon with the React icon library. with the React icon library. We designed the blog list using the grid system on Tailwind. We create a card for each blog according to the design we have used before. The card design begins with a button that has a simple border, then we add a title and description of the card in the blog and the image on the right. Well, if we have saved this card into a component so that it can be called again by other components. In blog card, there are attributes that can be passed by child components if you want to use them, namely title, description, image, onClick function. We take the blog card component with the attributes title, description, image. Now we create dummy data in the form of a list of objects. Then we map the data to the blog card. We add data so that it can be seen. Okay, the data is already visible on the page. Now we try to add a function where if the click command is done, it will move to the blog detail page. We first create a blog state as a variable to store data. Next, we will try to get data from the FastAPI backend. Now we try to create a fetch data function and call data from the backend with the getById method. We use the useEffect function, which is useful if we click the start of the page, the data can be called. If we look at the backend, we already have one data in the database. Let's call it to the frontend. Well, let's try to print the data if we see the data is there. We map it into the blog state that we have created. Well, if we see the data has appeared on the blog list screen. Now we add a little loading page. We add CSS animation and tailwinds. We go back to the blog list page. Here we add loading page when fetching data. Next, we create write blog. First, we add a function. When clicking the pencil button, we'll go to the right blog page. Well, we designed the right blog page first. We want to put the right blog page right in the middle of the page. Now we create an input, title, description, and button. We add an editor from TipTap. First, we create a state variable to store the content of the editor. Here we can open the documentation of the TipTap editor. Here there are many choices that we can develop, but in this video we will make a very simple one. We create an editor variable as the default option of TipTap. Then added in useEffect with the editor and the handle change function to store editor data in the state editor content. Now we try to change the design of the editor. Create a new CSS file as the design of the editor. Open the documentation from TipTap. We just copy the CSS and modify it a little. Now we create a button option, bold, and others. If we look at the documentation, then we just copy the code into this coding. We have copied the button option for bold. It's time to design the button to make it look better. Okay, now let's try all the available option buttons. It's time to add an image button to upload an image. Now let's make it first. After that, we create an add image function. Before we continue, we open Firebase and add access to Firebase to upload files. After that, we create an upload file function. Okay, let's add the Firebase file upload function that we created earlier. Because there was an error, the Firebase library has not been added to the project. Now we add it. It's time to test the editor. Okay, we can do all the input. Now we create a submit function to the database. We add a fetch function with the post method, a JSON content type header, and a body to store data. We first create a state that will be stored in the database, such as title, desk, slug, and media. We save the state on onChange in the input. If we have created a condition, if the response is 200, then we will go to a new page. Okay, let's try to input data. Okay, before we submit, we try to create a loading page when uploading files to Firebase. Okay, it works. Let's try to submit. Let's try to enter the data again. Next, we create a blog details page. Our first design is the main page in the middle of the page. In order to read the HTML format, we use the DangerSetNormal class. Now it's time to get the blog ID from the URL. After that, we create a state blog variable. We create an asynchronous fetch data function to fetch data from the API using fetch. This function sends an HTTP GET request to a specific endpoint, checks if the response is successful, then converts the JSON data into a JavaScript object. The fetched data is then retrieved and stored in the React state using setBlog so that the data can be used in the component. We also use useEffect to automatically call the fetchData function when the component is first loaded. With this approach, we can display blog data dynamically according to the ID of the URL. Well, the data has been successfully fetched. Just change the design a little to make it neat. Well, the design is a little neat. It's time to try again from the home page. Now we design a blog with edit and delete buttons next to the blog title. Here we add an edit button with a pencil icon image. You can find it in ReactJS. Next, we add delete button and trash icon next to pencil icon. If we have created a function for each button so that when clicked it becomes true status edit or delete. Now we create an edit page with when we click edit icon changes to editor, which we can change its value. So that we don't need to create a new page, we modify the write blog page by adding edit condition. We add parameters iSetIt, title data, desk data, slug data, content data, on click edit. Now here we change the useState of each variable with two conditions. If the page is used for editing, then the value comes from the child component. If not, it remains empty. We adjust the title changes too. We add a back button to cancel edit page. We return to blog detail, add the modified write blog component. Add the required parameters. Now we add a condition if we will update data in the handle submit function. We just create a condition if edit change fetch API to put to update data. If we have tried to update data, OK data successfully update data. Now we try to delete button we first create capital. In the delete modal, we make a choice whether you are sure the data will be deleted with the yes or no option. After we have created the click delete function by calling the API with the delete method based on the blog. If so, then we will redirect the page to the blog list page. Next, we make a loading page when the delete is complete. We try and finally succeed.